It's nearly 2 years since I first went to Greece to report on the plight of hundreds of children from war zones. Youngsters who'd made it to a safe country but were unable to get the medical help they needed. One particular case, that of Najib Ali from Syria, was heartbreaking. The 13-year-old was paralysed and in a wheelchair after being caught in an airstrike. His condition was getting worse as each month passed by. The UK charity Goodwill Caravan vowed to help Najib, and Sky News viewers, moved by his pain, donated tens of thousands of pounds towards his care. This is the story of what became of Najib.
Najib was a 9-year-old boy living happily with his family, and the airstrikes began in their town. They pronounced him dead. When they wrapped him up to bury him, his mother saw a pulse on his ankle and she screamed to the doctor that he was alive.
After the airstrike, Najib, his mother Fatin, father Talal and 2 brothers fled from Syria, making it to Greece as refugees. We filmed back in the spring of 2017 when, after a lengthy wait, the family attended one of their first appointments with a specialist consultant. It was a day which destroyed their hope that reaching Europe would provide any sort of easy or quick resolutions for Najib.
You feel that? How about here? You feel that? Here? No. Let's try this side. You feel that? No. Okay. Do you feel anything here?
هل حاسس بأي حاجة؟
Okay. This is an automatic movement, really. He does not have any conscious movement of his legs.
قال إن الحركة هذه مش حركة لأنه هو قادر يحرك رجليه. الحركة هذه العضلات يتحركوا بروحهم.
Do you think that there's any chance he could walk again?
I think this is very slim.
إنه بس هيك يعني إنه شكله الخارجي لا خلص هذا ما نحكي شيء.
When we first met Najib, he could barely look up from the pain. He couldn't breathe properly. He was always vomiting, and his kidneys were failing, and his respiration was at 30% and declining.
Over subsequent months, I visit Najib a number of times in Greece. On each occasion, his condition had deteriorated. By now, aged 14, his family are struggling to even lift the teenager out of bed or into his wheelchair, and they fear he may not survive much longer.
خايفة بأي لحظة إنه ترتفع درجة الحرارة يعني إني أخسر ابني أو أخسر.
Najib's collapsing spine, which still has shrapnel in it, has got visibly worse, pushing his abdomen to one side, causing him intense pain. His family say they never dreamed they would be stuck in Greece, a country overwhelmed by migrants like this.
احنا طلعنا ما بنعرف انه الحدود موقفة. الحدود انه كانت نسمع عن العالم تطلع دوري بس توصل اليونان تركب وتوصل لألمانيا للبلد اللي هي بدها اياه. البلد اليونان حلوة بس ما فيها العناية الطبابة بالنسبة لنجيب.
It becomes clear the only way to get a visa to go to Britain is for the charity to guarantee funding for Najib's treatment.
Doctors in Greece are trained, most of them here in the States. They are just as good, the surgeons there. But unfortunately, we were told that rehabilitation for refugees can take much longer, and it was time sensitive. It was all crowdfunding. It has always been crowdfunding. None of this has been on the NHS.
Hello Goodwill Caravan donors, we're here in front of the Visa Application Center where Najib and his mom and our team are waiting to see what happens.
5 years after the airstrike which left him paralysed, Najib is welcomed to the UK by supporters of the charity which made it possible. He's been given the go-ahead for spinal reconstructive surgery at Great Ormond Street Hospital in London.
Hi Najib, how are you doing? You okay?
It's been a while since I've seen Najib, and again his spine appears to have got worse. Najib knows the operation should dramatically improve his quality of life, but it's still a daunting prospect.
أنا خايف يصيبني شيء لا بعملية وما أكون شايف إخواتي.
إن شاء الله بتشوفوا.
Finally, the day of the operation arrives. There's been a lot of pain and tears along the way. By now, Najib and his mother have been apart from the rest of their family, who are still in Greece, for 4 months, and the strain is showing.
نعم. شكرا.
أكيد هو أنا بدي إياه يجي لهون إنه يساعدني بنجيب، يعطيني الدعم، لأنه أنا ما اهتم فيني كمان، يعني 6 سنين وأنا عم بقوم بنجيب، بدي إياهم يوقفوا معي.
Najib can't get in and out of his wheelchair without help. He can't sit up straight, and he's in terrible pain. He's only here because of the donations of well-wishers.
I feel happy today. Yeah.
You've come a long way for this day.
Yeah. I feel good now.
You excited about the future?
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Consultant orthopaedic surgeon Ramesh Nadaraja has come to see Najib. He will carry out the operation.
The sort of surgery itself is from T2 to
This isn't a procedure which will provide a miracle cure, enabling Najib to walk again. But the spinal reconstructive surgery should straighten his spine and allow him to be able to maneuver himself.
I'll put in what is known as a halo traction just around his skull to ensure that the traction forces on his spine allow us to pull his spine out as straight as we can. I'll make a cut in his back, and after that I'll actually put in small screws onto his spine. I think it's probably going to be anywhere between 25 to about 32 screws, really, yeah, because the aim just now is to ensure that the construct itself doesn't fail.
How complex is this operation?
It is a very complex operation, yeah. The key thing about the operation is that this is an operation where there's other bits of shrapnel in there as well, so it can make it a bit more sort of difficult for us.
The specialist team cut deeper and deeper into Najib's back to reveal his spine. Each of the state-of-the-art rods and screws to straighten his back must be carefully positioned and secured. An X-ray of each one is taken and checked. Several hours in, and the surgeons reach a huge fragment of shrapnel from the airstrike still lodged in Najib's back. They hope to remove it, but it's simply too deeply embedded. Their work is painstaking, and Najib is in the operating theatre for more than 6 hours. If it all goes well, Najib should be able to move independently for the first time in nearly 6 years.
Good lad. Okay, sort of wiggle forward.
Several weeks later, and Najib has been moved to the Royal National Orthopaedic Hospital in Middlesex.
Good lad. Feet.
The operation has been a success. His mother pushed him in his old wheelchair from Syria to Turkey before getting a smuggler boat to Greece. Now, with his new motorised wheelchair, the 15-year-old is on the way to regaining his independence.
دائما انه نجيب هو بيحضني، دائما عم شيله مثل الطفل اللي عمره 5 شهور. دائما هذا كان هو الوحيد يعني اللي دائما هو كان في حضني واني انا عم شيل فيه. احساسي انه قبل العمليه وقدام نجيب انه ما يساوي العمليات، كان كل شيء صعب عليه، يعني اني انا المسؤوله عنه بكل شيء، انا دائما ماشيه معه بكل شيء. هلا يعني كثير فرحانه انه نجيب صار ظهره منيح، نجيب يعني صار وضعه إن شاء الله إنه أحسن. بترجى من الله إنه يكفي باقية علاجه يعني ويصير إسا أحسن من هيك.
When we see Najib now, he's almost unrecognizable. He's with a straight back. He could take a full breath. He can put on his top on his own. It might not sound like a big thing, but before he could barely move his arm to move himself on the sofa when we first met him 2 years ago.
Najib is undergoing nearly a month of rehabilitation, but already he's able to carry out basic tasks so easily taken for granted.
قبل العملية كان يعني ظهري معوج وكل نهاري يخليني أبكي منه ويصيب لي الوجع يأثر على الرقبة وعلى الرأس وعلى الكتاف. أنا بتشكرهم كتير وأنا لولاهم ما كنت سويت العملية.
Lovely, well done. How does that feel?
Najib and his mother want to stay in the UK and hope the rest of their family will be able to join them. The charity which helped them say their campaign for Najib may be over, but there are still hundreds of other youngsters who've fled from war zones who aren't getting the help they need.